As we move on in our Azure Security Lab, we see that we have to deploy out a web server and secure our website with TLS, previously known as SSL. So TLS is the latest version of SSL. Most people probably still just say SSL, but TLS is up to version 1.3, which equates to somewhere around, if they continued the SSL versioning, it would probably be called like SSL 5.0 or 6.0 or something, but TLS is the latest, greatest security out there. So if we look at our document, we've got a link here, how to install the nginx web server. So what is nginx, or nginx is the pronunciation. It's an alternative to the extremely popular Apache web server that runs a large portion of the net. It's actually getting up there now as being a rival, as it and Apache are the two biggest web servers out there on the market. So it's a lightweight, simple web server that we can install onto CentOS. So as we read through the information about it, you should go ahead and read everything about what is nginx. And then we come down here, it talks us to install CentOS, is update our CentOS machine, which we've already done that in the previous week. It asks us to install the EPEL release, and we did that to install fail to ban, so we can skip that step. And the last part is to actually install the nginx system. So if I go ahead and open up my PuTTY into my CentOS machine, I can issue the sudo command again. And I'll do a yum. I'm going to omit the -y. I'm going to yum install nginx. So here it's going to tell me I have several components that need to be downloaded and installed into the machine. I'll hit yes. And we'll let it install the web server. Okay, so that's complete. And talks about if you already have Apache installed, you need to stop it. We don't. It says disable Apache D. I don't believe Apache is installed onto the system, so I'm going to issue a command and check to see. I'm going to do a sudo systemctl status httpd. It says the httpd service could not be found, so we do not have Apache. So I don't need to worry with any of those commands, but just double checking. Sometimes Apache is by default installed onto some systems since it is such a popular web server. So it says to start the engine server, but as we learned in fail to ban, you need to enable the service first before you start it. So let's issue a sudo systemctl command and use enable and then nginx. So that's a misconfiguration in the website. But I've taken operating systems, and in the prior week we set up fail to ban, so you should realize that you need to enable a service before you start it, especially if you want the service to continue to start between reboots. So I hit the up arrow key, I'll go ahead and backspace, and I issue start. I'll hit the up arrow key a couple of times until I get to the status page, and instead of looking at the status, I want to look at the status of engine. So it comes up, it says engine is active. It shows green on the screen and running. Let's continue reading on the configuration. They do have the enable. They just had it further down in the list than I would normally like. Set up to allow the firewall to allow traffic. By default, CentOS firewalls off everything. When we installed and deployed CentOS, we only told it to allow port 22 through the firewall. Now inside of Azure, we used Azure's firewall config and allowed port 80 and 443, but that did not go inside of CentOS and configure the local firewall. So Azure has its external firewall and CentOS has its host-based firewall. Both have to be opened up before that we can access those ports from across the internet. It tells us a few easy commands. We can actually copy and paste. We have a firewall command, public and permanent, and add service HTTP. So if I copy that command, I can just right click and it pastes it into my PuTTY. And for some reason, firewall D is not running. Let me troubleshoot that really quickly. Okay, so I'll do a system CTL status firewall D. So I do not see that it is active. Firewall D actually needs to be active for fail to ban to work properly. If it's disabled, fail to ban can be generating rules, but they're not going to be enforced. That looks like a configuration template issue with Azure, because Firewall D is normally by default enabled and running on a freshly deployed CentOS system. Microsoft does have a habit of not putting enough layered security in their network. And they got hit with the slammer worm because they did not use layered security back around 2001 to 2003 timeframe. So it looks like they are still not issuing the best security measures. So you should always have an external firewall like Azure has, and plus a host-based firewall. So I'm going to enable the firewall D. So firewall is enabled. I will go ahead and start it. Possibly, I want to add these services first before I start it. So I want to add a couple of services here. So I've already copied that, and let's try it again. We'll paste that in there with a right click, and I'll hit enter. Yeah, it's still not okay. So I do have to start it before it'll take that command. And hopefully it won't kick me off the system. So I hit the up arrow key twice. I'm going to enable. Again, I need to use the super user, sudo. So allow port 80. I'll hit the up arrow key. I'm going to put an S. That allows the port 443 HTTPS. I'm going to hit the up arrow key and verify that SSHD is allowed, or simply SSH. And a warning, SSH was already enabled onto the system, so that's good. But so we fixed a few issues that didn't realize firewall D. It should have been one of the things I checked when we deployed CentOS to make sure the local firewall was enabled and not just the external Azure gateway firewall. So let's look at what firewall commands we have set. So we're going to go ahead and hit the up arrow key, reissue the firewall command, but this time we'll go and do public, but we'll do a -- list, and I may have to look this up. Hold on. I think it's just list all. Okay, so that is correct. So sudo firewall command, looking at zone public, I want to list all zone traffic. So ping is not blocked. Services, DHCP, client, and SSH are allowed. I'm worried about not seeing HTTP. So it tells us we may have to reload the firewall configuration. So I'm going to go and hit the up arrow key, run the firewall command, but this time do -- reload. Hit my up arrow key a couple of times to bring back up the firewall command. We're looking at the public zone and we're listing all configuration for the public zone. Now I see that HTTP, HTTPS, and SSH are all allowed through. So we've just increased the security by enabling the firewall D and also allowing our fail2ban to create jails. So it looks like Thursday would be the day that you would probably want to issue the fail2ban client and look at what's been blocked. So now let's check and see if our website is accessible. I'll go to the portal, the Azure portal login page. I'll go to my dashboard, and on the S1 virtual machine that we have created, you should have your DNS name created from last week. I'm going to copy the DNS. This is also what that you'll need to send me for the assignment when you're completed with it. Not yet, but when you're completed with the assignment. And I'm going to paste that into the address bar and see if I can actually get to my website. So I access the website. It's just a generic welcome to CentOS machine. And I want to change this to make sure it looks like mine. And it's just not a generic, hey, welcome to CentOS. So I got to figure out where that's located. So I'm going to do a search for nginx default HTML location. It says it's normally under user share nginx HTML. So let's look and see if that exists. So I'm going to change directory into user share nginx HTML. It looks like the nginx file is actually located elsewhere. It's cyan in color. So if I do an ls-l with a symbolic link, it's 2 directories back into a doc HTML folder, but that's okay. I can go ahead and run a VI on the index.html right here and be able to edit the file. So I'm going to do a sudo and VI followed by index.html. This right here is generic file. It starts off with the HTML heading. It says welcome to CentOS. Why don't we modify the title bar to welcome to, say, put your last name, or welcome to, yeah, put your last name and type security class. So I'm going to go and arrow down past all the style sheet. There's lots of styles in there to make things look pretty. So going past all of that junk until I start getting past the closing head, getting past the body, and the stuff in here. I want to get rid of most of the stuff between this body and there should be a slash body somewhere. I'm going to go ahead and escape. And I'm going to use the DD command to delete lines and just keep tapping DD semi-slowly. Delete all of this extra information, all this default that I don't want in there. So I come down here to an H1. Oh, I just deleted it accidentally. So I got an H2 here. I got some paragraphs. I'm going to go down to delete. More lines. I guess I'll go and delete that line. So I'm looking at clearing everything out between body and the closing body tag. So if you want to, or I do want you to, clear all of those out, and I want you to insert at least your name as an H1, align equals center, and then put just your last name there. And then close it with the closing H1. So if I save that, hit escape, type :WQ, or actually just :W to write it, and I go back to my website, if I reload it, you should end up with just your last name centered on the page. So cool, and this is still not what you want to turn in. Notice we have an issue here. The connection is not secure. It is now policy that all traffic over the internet is encrypted. FTP traffic is by default not encrypted, and Firefox, around Firefox 78 I think it is, later this summer, they're going to remove FTP as a allowed protocol. And at some point in time, they might start disallowing plain web traffic as allowed protocols. So all sites now should be secure. So you're thinking, well, that costs money. There's actually a free encrypt everything website. So I have listed here, secure your website using CertBot. Let's visit this site. And that's in our assignment. So on this site, we can run CertBot once to automatically get free HTTP certificates forever. So pretty cool. So we come down here, my HTTP website is running what? nginx. On what type of system? CentOS 7. So it gives us instructions. We'll come down here. What do we need? We need to SSH into the server. That's PuTTY. Great, we've done that. We need to enable the EPL. We have done that. We need to issue the following commands. So at this point in time, I am going to go ahead and I'm already escaped out of my editing of the HTML file, and I'm going to do a :Q to quit. And now I need to install certbot. Sudo yum install. It says I need to install yum utils, which may already be installed, but we'll see. Yes, already installed. It says we need to issue this command, which I'm going to copy and paste. So we need to enable a new folder basically to get certbot configuration from. But again, we have to use sudo in front of it. So that's been enabled. Now, this command actually did put sudo in front of it. So sudo yum install certbot python 2 certbot nginx. So I'll right click, paste that into my PuTTY. And we'll install. So here we can get and install the certificate, or just get a certificate. It's best if you get and install the certificate using this command. So we'll run the sudo certbot nginx. Enter an email address used for urgent renewal and security notices, or C to cancel. You should use your student email address. You need to agree. So a capital A. We'd be willing to share your email address with the Electronic Frontier Foundation. I don't like sharing email addresses, so I'm going to go no. Enter my domain name. So in this case, I'm going to go to the Azure portal, or actually I'm just going to go to the my web link, and I'm going to copy my domain name here, not the server name, just the domain, the central US cloud app azure.com, and I'm going to paste that. So we got up and failed. Let me run the command again. Maybe I do need to include my full computer name. So reissue and it's asking again. Let me find the right web browser here. So I'm going to put the entire name in there. I need to take the HTTP out if it's going to let me do that. It's not going to let me do that, so I need to use a notepad. Take off the HTTPS and the slash and just copy just the entire name, paste it in, and hit enter. So now it found our server, matched it to the IP address. Now it wants us, do we want to redirect all future traffic from port 80 to port 443? Number 1 is no redirect. Number 2 is to redirect. It's the most secure. It makes sure that anybody trying to access an unsecure port is sent to the secure site. So it disables all non-secure traffic. We want to press number 2 to eliminate access to any unsecure traffic. So now I'm going to go back to trying to access my website again. I'm going to refresh the page and notice that it's changed to an HTTPS. My connection is secure. Once you have this complete, now is the point in time where that you will send me your domain link, and I will access your site and verify that I see your name and verify that you have a secure connection. So I'll grade by actually going to your site to see that you've got the firewall open, that you are using certbot by Let's Encrypt. So that's a quick, easy way to set up an HTTPS system and make sure that all of your traffic to your servers on the internet are secure. And, as we did last week, fail to ban, protected from any botnets trying to brute force into the system. We'll have another lecture video on setting up some automation. We'll set up 2 automation tasks, one of them for renewing of certbot and the other for automatically patching our CentOS system.